You've been taught a lie so deeply embedded in your mind that it feels like a virtue. You were told that if you just stayed honest, if you lived with integrity, if you spoke your truth and stood your ground, you would be respected, rewarded, that the world would see your moral backbone and offer you a seat at the table. But that's not what happens. That's not how the world is built. Because the truth, the brutal truth, is this: they don't reward integrity, they reward compliance. The more predictable you are, the more obedient, the more adaptable to the expectations of institutions, families, systems, corporations, the more praise you receive. The more you bend, the more you're seen as easy to work with. The more you silence yourself, the more you're called mature. The more you betray your own values to meet the expectations of others, the more you're celebrated as disciplined, polished, and professional. This world does not punish weakness. It punishes authenticity. Not because authenticity is dangerous in itself, but because it's unpredictable. And the modern world fears nothing more than someone who refuses to play along. Look around. The people promoted aren't the most principled. They're the most agreeable. The ones who speak truth to power get buried, not promoted. The whistleblowers lose their jobs. The visionaries get mocked. The unyielding get isolated. The ones who question authority, censored, labeled, silenced. And yet you were raised to believe that having integrity was enough. So now you wonder why you feel invisible, why your honesty is seen as harsh, why you're constantly told to tone it down, why you're always walking on eggshells, navigating a world that rewards you for becoming a replica, not a rebel. This is not accidental, it's strategic. Society by design needs order, and order is maintained not through truth, but through compliance, through people who don't ask too many questions, who smile on cue, who nod when they disagree, who shrink themselves to keep things smooth, because smoothness is profitable, conformity is efficient, and silence is easy to control. That's why the real war isn't between good and evil. It's between the compliant and the conscious. And if you choose consciousness, integrity, truth, moral alignment, then you will pay a price. You will become the target, the outlier, the one who makes everyone uncomfortable, because the system cannot reward what it cannot tame. So if you've ever felt punished for being honest, if you've ever watched liars get promoted while you get passed over, if you've ever wondered why staying true to yourself feels like exile, it's not because you're broken. It's because the world is built to break you. And this essay isn't here to soothe you. It's here to arm you. Because once you see the machine for what it is, you stop begging it to love you. You start preparing for war. Think of society as a vast factory, not a place of innovation, but replication. A place where people are not sculpted into greatness, but molded into usefulness. Where you're not asked who you are, you're told what you should be. And if you resist the mold, they don't argue with you. They just replace you. You were born into this factory. From childhood, you were handed blueprints. Be polite, be agreeable, be quiet, follow instructions, get good grades, raise your hand, don't make mistakes, fit in. Stay in line. Obey. Not because this path would make you powerful, but because it would make you predictable. This is the machinery of compliance, and it runs on fear disguised as virtue. And who understood this better than anyone? Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche didn't write for the comfortable. He wrote for those who felt the quiet oppression of conformity, who sensed that modern morality wasn't built on truth, but on domestication. He saw the danger not in evil, but in obedience disguised as goodness. In The Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche breaks down how societies rebranded weakness as virtue. He argues that the powerful, the noble types, once lived by values rooted in strength, pride, courage, and action. But over time, the weaker classes, unable to dominate directly, developed a moral system that demonized power and elevated submission. This is what Nietzsche called slave morality. It praises humility, meekness, suffering, and silence. Not because these are truly virtuous, but because they serve the weak. They make the strong feel guilty. They turn assertiveness into arrogance. They redefine rebellion as sin. They turn the wolf into a monster and the sheep into saints. And here's the catch. Over time, slave morality didn't just influence the culture, it became the culture. This is how compliance became sacred. This is how integrity, real, wild, defiant integrity, became dangerous. Nietzsche saw that institutions don't promote truth. They preserve power. And truth-tellers, they shake foundations. That's why the world smiles at your politeness but punishes your honesty. Why your job tells you to speak freely but fires you for doing it. Why the algorithm boosts the agreeable and buries the bold. Because integrity threatens the machine, and the machine rewards only what it can use. Nietzsche also warned of the last man, a vision of modern humanity stripped of fire. This last man avoids pain, avoids conflict, avoids truth, choosing comfort over greatness, safety over authenticity. He is harmless, obedient, and forgettable. And the tragedy, society doesn't just tolerate the last man, it celebrates him. He is the perfect factory product, compliant, pleasant, non-threatening, morally neutral, completely alienated from his own power and too numb to care. So if you've been wondering why you're exhausted from pretending, why your truth feels like a burden while lies are rewarded, why you keep silencing yourself just to survive the day, you're not the problem. You're just not made for the factory. But if you want to escape it, if you want to reclaim your integrity, you'll have to do more than reject the mold. You'll have to burn the blueprint. A factory doesn't need you to think. It needs you to function, to show up, shut up, smile on command, and move product, even if that product is your own soul. And when you break down, when the weight of pretending becomes unbearable, they don't pause the machine. They just replace the part. They call it burnout. You call it anxiety. Nietzsche called it spiritual suffocation, because what's being crushed isn't your schedule. It's your selfhood, and it's happening systematically. This factory doesn't just process your actions. It rewires your values. It punishes dissent before you even speak. It conditions you to pre-approve your thoughts, filter your instincts, and shrink your authenticity to the size of what's socially acceptable. And here's the terrifying part. The more time you spend inside, the more you forget the outside even exists. Nietzsche warned of this. He spoke not just of rebellion, but of revaluation, the radical act of redefining values for yourself. He called for the creation of new meaning, new morality, forged from within rather than inherited from institutions. He called this kind of person the Übermensch, often mistranslated as Superman, but better understood as the Overman, the one who rises above conventional morality. The Übermensch doesn't comply, he creates. He doesn't inherit value, he defines it. He is not guided by the crowd, he is pulled by his own fire. But here's the catch. To become that, to reclaim your integrity, you must first be willing to be hated. Because those who break from the factory are not applauded, they're hunted. Their truth is not welcomed, it's mocked, feared, and rejected. You will be called arrogant, difficult, intense, unstable, unrealistic, aggressive. And that's how you'll know you're doing it right. Because the world does not fear evil. It fears the person who cannot be predicted. It fears the one who listens to something deeper than rules, who has values that are self-generated, and who will not trade their soul for approval. So let's be clear. The world doesn't reward integrity because integrity is dangerous. It doesn't ask for your truth. It demands your submission. And it doesn't care how much you suffer, as long as you keep producing, keep obeying, keep fitting in. That's the price of playing the game. But there's another path. It's harder. It's lonelier. And it begins with rejection. Rejection of the blueprint. Rejection of the factory. Rejection of every quiet voice inside you that says, maybe I should just go along. Because that voice isn't your conscience, it's your conditioning. And until you kill it, you'll keep wondering why you feel dead even while alive. Nietzsche didn't want you to be polite. He wanted you to be sovereign, to become someone whose existence doesn't depend on applause, to be a storm, not a product, to be flame, not furniture. And if you're reading this, part of you is already waking up, already tired of being molded, already sick of playing by rules designed to shrink you. Good, because the time for understanding has passed. Now begins the time for strategy. You don't need to be in a prison to live like a prisoner. You just need to sit through a meeting where no one says what they mean. You just need to smile when something inside you is screaming. You just need to nod while watching incompetence rise and integrity disappear. That's the factory, operating in plain sight. You see it in the workplace. The manager who rewards submission over insight, who promotes the agreeable and sidelines the bold. You speak up with a real concern, and you're labeled difficult. You stay quiet, and you're a team player. You watch mediocrity get celebrated, not because it's good, but because it's safe. You see it in relationships. You're told to be honest, but punished for your truth. You're asked to just be yourself, but only if yourself fits the emotional comfort zone of the other person. So you compromise, not once, but habitually, until you don't even notice it anymore. You see it in families. Children aren't raised to be sovereign. They're trained to be polite, to conform, to suppress. Not because parents are evil, but because they're afraid. Afraid of conflict, of rejection, of raising someone who is inconvenient to society. And worst of all, you see it in yourself. The way you hesitate before speaking. The way you edit your words in real time. The way you say, it's fine when it's not. The way you abandon your convictions just to keep the peace. You've been trained to confuse obedience with virtue and silence with strength. But none of it is strength. It's erosion. You are not broken. You are being broken. By systems that survive by softening your spine one silent compromise at a time. You've probably tried to fix this the way most people do. You've read the self-help books. The ones that say, just set boundaries, communicate better, be more mindful. You've tried saying no with a smile, expressing your needs calmly, trying not to overreact, trying to be the bigger person. But nothing changes. Why? Because you're still playing by their rules. You're asking for permission inside a system that exists to deny it. You think you're being mature by compromising, but you're just becoming more manageable. You think you're being diplomatic, but you're just silencing your instincts. You think you're negotiating, but you're not in a negotiation. You're in a containment protocol. And the worst part, the more self-aware you become without action, the more guilt you feel. You recognize your own patterns, your own repression, your own betrayal. But instead of breaking out, you meditate your way back into numbness. You let it go. You accept. But acceptance without confrontation is surrender. Conventional approaches fail because they treat this as a personal issue, not a structural one. They tell you to fix your mindset, but never mention the environment that is actively rewarding your suppression and punishing your strength. You are not anxious because you think wrong. You are anxious because you live in a world that punishes authenticity. And the only real solution isn't internal peace, it's external resistance. Until you stop trying to be liked by people who benefit from your silence, until you stop waiting for the system to validate your integrity, you will keep collapsing into the very role that's killing you. Stop healing to return to compliance. Start transforming to break it. If you want to stop being rewarded for compliance, you must first stop being available for it. And that begins by building a brutal mentality. Not positive, not hopeful, not peaceful, but sovereign. A mindset that cannot be bought, softened, or managed. Here's how it starts. Step 1. Choose clarity over comfort. Stop romanticizing your suffering. The system doesn't misunderstand you. It understands you perfectly, as someone useful, silent, and compliant. Call it what it is. Exploitation masked as belonging. Stop dressing it in therapy words. Name it, and reject it. Step 2. Identify your points of betrayal. Make a list. Where do you say yes when you mean no? Where do you stay silent when you should speak? Where do you shrink? This is not about being aggressive. It's about alignment. Brutal mentality begins with brutal honesty. Step 3. Burn the false self. The version of you that plays along, nods in meetings, filters every thought, agrees just to keep peace. That self is not you. That's your survival mask. Start removing it piece by piece. Speak differently. Walk differently. Let people be uncomfortable. Step 4. Accept isolation as initiation. The first reward for integrity is rejection. People will distance themselves. Good. That's proof you've stopped performing. Stop chasing connection. Build inner authority. You don't need a tribe. You need a spine. Step 5. Create a daily ritual of confrontation. Every day, do one thing that asserts your voice, even in discomfort. Send the honest email. Say the hard truth. Set the boundary. The goal isn't violence, it's sovereignty. Because you can't think your way into power. You must act your way into it. You can build integrity like steel, but the world will still throw storms. Because this isn't just a mindset shift, it's a war. And the enemy isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's a smile, a promotion, a silence, a system that says, you can speak, but you'll pay. Machiavelli understood this tension better than anyone. He divided the forces of power into two, virtù and fortuna. Virtù is inner strength, discipline, courage, vision, decisiveness. It's what you control. Fortuna is chaos, luck, politics, timing, public opinion. It's the shifting sand beneath your feet. Here's the brutal reality. If your integrity depends on favorable conditions, you will collapse. Because fortuna will turn. People will turn. The job will shift. The rules will change. And if you haven't forged a brutal virtù, you will fold back into compliance to survive. Most people don't lose themselves all at once. They lose themselves every time they choose comfort over clarity, silence over truth, agreement over authenticity. And they blame the world, when the truth is, they lacked virtù. So what's the strategy? Don't ask for a gentler world. Build a sharper self. You will never control fortuna, not your boss, your partner, the market, the algorithm, the crowd. But you can make yourself unshakable, not by hoping, but by training, daily, deliberately. This war is not fair, and it's not meant to be. But fairness isn't the goal. Dominion is. You don't need the world to be stable. You need to be impossible to bend when it isn't. Most people can be honest for a moment. Few can remain honest when everything around them demands betrayal. Because integrity isn't a spark, it's a furnace, and furnaces require fuel. So how do you sustain that fire? Not just today, but for decades. 1. Build an internal tribunal. Stop seeking external validation. Create your own court. Ask yourself daily, did I act in alignment? Did I speak the truth? Did I stand when it would have been easier to kneel? Your answers are your verdict. Learn to live by them. 2. Detach from image. The more you obsess over how you appear, the easier you are to control. People pleasers aren't weak. They're addicted to optics. Kill the addiction. Let them think you're cold, arrogant, intense. They're already thinking it. Free yourself. 3. Audit your environment ruthlessly. Weakness is contagious. So is cowardice. Surround yourself with people who confront, not conform. If your circle rewards silence, reshape the circle. If your job kills your voice, plan your exit like a soldier preparing defection. 4. Master tactical honesty. Truth doesn't mean emotional vomiting. It means precision, power, timing. Learn when to strike and when to hold. Integrity isn't about blurting. It's about impact. Never mistake noise for power. 5. Prepare for legacy, not applause. You're not here to win the day. You're here to win the war. Your integrity will outlive trends, jobs, and followers. Plant it like a flag on a hill and defend it like a kingdom. You don't need likes. You need longevity. Because in the long game, applause fades, but integrity echoes. Now you know. There is no reward for your integrity unless you make it sacred. No system is coming to thank you for your truth. No boss, no algorithm, no institution, no crowd will ever say, you were right to resist. They'll say you were difficult, arrogant, stubborn, dangerous. Good, be dangerous. Because the moment you stop asking for permission, you become untouchable. So here's the challenge. Stop hiding in theory. Stop using awareness as an excuse for inaction. Knowledge without execution is cowardice in disguise. Right now, make a decision. A public one. A symbolic one. If you're done playing the game, if you're done shrinking, smiling, nodding while dying inside, if you're done watching liars get promoted and performers get praised, then write it. Declare it. Burn the factory map and say it out loud. I am the storm. Not because it's poetic, but because it's a warning. To every force that tries to bend you. To every mask they tried to fit you into. To every part of you that still flinches when you speak the truth. Say it, mean it, and then go live like it. You were not made to be manageable. You were not made to be digestible, likable, promotable. You were made to be undeniable. And if you carry your integrity like a weapon, not a wish, there is nothing they can offer you that's worth what you already are. So don't beg them to see you. Make it impossible to look away.